The Foot are looking for new recruits. This is your look at the new NECA Toys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie Foot Soldier 2-pack. Now you can catch America's favorite green teens in their first live-action blockbuster film. After waiting in a puddle of radioactive waste, these radical reptiles are transformed into New York City's greatest crime-fighting quartet. They get plenty of practice against the Foot Clan, an army of ninjas serving the Shredder. These highly detailed figures stand 7 inches tall and feature 30 points of articulation, including double elbows, so these faithful ninjas can carry out their master's criminal commands. Before we get a closer look at the Foot Soldiers, the first thing we're going to want to do is figure out how tall they stand. I'm only really going to measure one of them, because technically they're the exact same figure. You're just getting 2 of them. So each one of the Foot Soldiers stands 7 inches exactly. And we can switch that to centimeters, showing you that the figures stand 17.8, almost 18 centimeters in height. These also so happen to be the exact same Foot Soldiers that were packed in the capture of Splinter, a set that we looked at previously where you get 2 Foot Soldiers, you got a Shredder, and you got yourself a Splinter. To bring in that Foot Soldier, just to show you guys, it's exactly the same figure, you maybe could say that the paint seems darker on the now 2-pack release versus the one that's slightly more bluish tint that came with the capture of Splinter set. And seeing, of course, we're talking about the Foot Soldiers, it would make some common sense, I'm sure, to bring in the Shredder. So you guys can see what the Shredder looks like with the Foot Soldiers. I mean, personally speaking, I'm all fine and good to get multiples of these. I mean, after all, he did amass quite the army in the original Turtles movie. So it would make perfect sense to, of course, get some extra Foot Soldiers. Just bring in Splinter as well so that you guys can see some other size comparisons. And we'll just bring in a couple of Ninja Turtles. We'll bring in, say, Leonardo, and a very mopey Raph. I don't know why he's so mopey. Alright, he lost his sigh. There it is. So you can get an idea of how the Foot Soldiers stack up with some of the other movie Turtles that NECA Toys had produced. The figures come with accessories, and a whole lot of them. They come with the exact same accessories, actually, that came included with the capture of Splinter set, except for 2, and we'll have a look at those right now. The thing that came included with the capture of Splinter set was this small dagger, and you can see it's housed inside of a little sheath. It was one of the only accessories that doesn't come included with this particular set. I'm not really too disappointed either that it's completely omitted. While we get so much of other things with this set, would we ever display the Foot Soldiers with a little tiny blade? Maybe, maybe not. But again, if you've already picked up that set, you probably don't really need that missing dagger. The other thing that comes included, or didn't mean to startle you, the other thing that came included with the capture of Splinter set that is omitted here is this pointed spear, this kind of staff weapon that they use. Again, it's not included anywhere with these accessories. And again, I'm not too disappointed because if you've already collected and picked up that capture of Splinter set, essentially you're just getting more additional accessories, more additional weapons. The other thing that came included with that set, obviously, is the rack. I just want to bring the rack in for starters, just to show you guys that it is exactly the same. It doesn't look like they actually have changed anything from one rack to the other. I mean, it's perfect as well, having more than one of these, because with the amount of weapons that you actually get between both this set and the capture of Splinter, you're definitely going to need a lot more racks to house everything. So the rack is also exactly the same. Let's have a look at all the accessories. Now again, all of the things we're going to be touching base on are all the same things that came included with the capture of Splinter set. For starters, they come with, let's just pick these up right now. They come included with a pair of sai. Not size. Sai is the plural of sai. Not to confuse you. They do get a pair of sai, and all nicely painted. Same exact ones that we had gotten before with the release of the capture of Splinter set. Now, one thing that you can do with these, I don't even know if I had mentioned it when we had a look at the capture of Splinter set, is that they have this little cloth sash. It's kind of actually hard to see it, but you can take the sai. I know I'm putting this upside down just for the time being. It's just so I can get my finger in there. There we go. And then feed this from the top. It is, again, something I'm not quite certain whether I mentioned or not when we had a look at the initial Capture of Splinter set, but this little sash allows you to house things like the sai. And I suppose technically you could put in the nunchucks as well, things of course that we're going to be looking at in a second. So you get a pair of sai. We'll just put the figure down here for a second. So you get 2 of those. The other accessories, as I've already mentioned it, you do get yourself a nunchuck. Now this one is particularly noted that it does have the little ball bearings on the end, all painted in silver. The chain also, not only is it real, but it's also been painted in silver. A contrast to that is you get a smaller version nunchuck that only has just the loop on the top, and it's all done in black plastic. So there's some difference between the two. But again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, I'm sure, when we're looking at all of these, that they're all the same things that we got with that previously released set. Other things that come included with this, you get yourself the nightstick. Nicely done. Just, again, sculpted black plastic. You get yourself the katana. Now, again, you only get 1 of these, so if you already have that other set, now you have 2 katanas. That's good. You do also get yourself a larger battle axe. And I really like the way that this one was painted. Sort of brushed against this darker silver. Looks like they've streaked some almost kind of, not quite bronze, it's not quite gold. It kind of has like a little bit of a rusted look to it. And I do really think that turned out nice, especially like right down the bottom area here, where it just looks like it's got some real natural age that's settled on the surface of the metal. You also do get yourself a bow staff. Now, obviously, the longer accessories would be then perfect to house on the rack. If you have, again, multiple racks and multiple accessories, you could form yourself quite the nice little setup. The axe doesn't really fit all that well. The handle just doesn't seem like it's long enough. You can fit it on there, but it doesn't really stay in place perfectly. And a lot of times, if you bang it, if you just move it carefully, it may not fall off. It's literally just the right width to fit onto the rack. And of course, the foot soldiers come with a ton of hands as well. Did I say a ton of hands? Yes, they certainly do come with a ton of hands. Now, a lot of the hands are things that are going to be duplicated because essentially you're getting the exact same figure. When you get them defaulted out of the packaging, the 2 foot soldiers come paired with closed fists. Not the most exciting of things, especially with all the multitude of accessories that come included with these. I'm not really ever going to display them with closed fists. You can if you want to, but I think that serving a purpose with the open fists work a lot better for the foot soldiers. Other things they come included with are the gripping hands. You get a couple of these, actually, and I've already taken the liberty of swapping those out. At least swapped 3 of the possible 4, and this one is just the 4th one right here. You can see each one of them also do have the marking of the little guard there on their hand. A really, really nice touch. You can see how it's only fed in between the 2 fingers. So sort of they hold it, or they have it mounted, I guess. They wear it almost like brass knuckles. It only fits on the 2 fingers right there. Really nice touch. The other thing they come included with is a couple of more exaggerated gestured hands. And again, you get 2 sets of these. So, again, you can use it for the foot soldiers, or again, like you can mix and match these. You can have like one hand more gestured hand, another just gripping hand to hold the weapons they come included with. The other thing that they come also with, and this is something that came included with the Capture of Splinter set, is the swappable out bandanas, the back of their bandanas. Having a look at the figure here, the headband, I should say. If you look at the back as it is right now, you'll sort of see how the way it's sculpted out and how this one does change. If I pop this out, and all it really is involved is just a very quick pull of the plug, that pops out. Then you can take the other headband that comes included with it, just push that back in place. And this is actually one that sits a little bit lower. I don't know if you can see it or not. This one's just a little bit longer of a design, and this one has a little more of a relaxed look to it. So you can have them designed the way that you want. And in a way, really, the fact that they do give you a couple of variations for headbands, it means that you can also change and make them look a little more unique to one another. I'm going to move this one over just for the time being, and I want to bring in the foot soldier that came included with the Capture of Splinter, because I did mention earlier that the coloring on the Capture of Splinter foot soldier seems a little bit more bluish. And again, like when I'm looking at them side to side, I do see like there's a little bit more blue happening here on the top part of its outfit. You can see it right there. This one is a little bit more darker in contrast. The face sculpts don't look like they change all that much. It seems like they stay pretty consistent with one another. Getting a closer look, and camera I think wants to focus on the foot soldier in the back there. You can see like there's really not that much that does change between the two. The paint really hasn't changed. I don't think the paint was really off that much at all with the original one. It just seems again like they went a little bit more the darker color instead of the more slight bluish coloring of paint that they've added to the top tunic there. Other than that, again, like if we flip the figures around, you look at the back of them, nothing really does change. It still has that sash located on the waist area. So if you had the sai or you had the nunchuck, you can actually put them into there. And again, I like the fact that they do include those. Something I'm not even sure if I mentioned this when we had a look at the capture of Splinter foot soldier, but the fact that we're getting like now army building foot soldiers you can buy multiples of. I think a fun touch on NECA's part would have been to include swappable heads, because again, all of these have the same foot soldier mask. There's nothing that changes between them. That I think it would have been a fun touch that it included unmasked head portraits. Now, without going the route of maybe even getting the licenses for the actors that were the foot soldiers in the movie, maybe as even a fun touch, NECA could have included head sculpts for some of the people that work around their company. You imagine like Randy's head sculpt right here as something that you could pop this foot soldier's head off and replace it with, say, Randy's head sculpt. I think that would have been a fun touch. And again, I mean, with all of these foot soldiers being nameless characters, it would be an ideal opportunity for them to throw in a couple of little company Easter eggs, giving us some swappable heads of some of the employees that worked over at NECA. I think that certainly would have been a fun touch. But again, just to reiterate, there's nothing that changes between the two foot soldiers that are packed inside this set. I guess they could eventually down the road release multiple additional packs where you could have those swappable heads that I was talking about, or you could even give us like battle damaged ripped outfits also therein as well. But again, I like the idea of getting army building. I've always been a big fan of army building my figures, and foot soldiers specifically are ideal for that army build, whether you're getting the cartoon turtle foot soldiers or you're getting the movie foot soldiers. They're great army builders. Some of the best army builders you could think of when it comes to things that you would want to buy a lot of. The fact that you would have Shredder with a massed army of multiple foot soldiers would then make logical sense. You would want to pick up multiple sets of these so that you have a whole lot of them to go along with the shred head. As for the articulation on the foot soldier, we're really only going to just look at this one because, again, this one is no different. For the articulation, they have a ball joint. Now, the ball joint is rather interesting because it kind of at first glance looks like it's only at the base of the neck, and that the neck is just a continuation and then goes to the head, where this is just all one piece. In actual fact, there's two ball joints working here. One at the base, so this is the one that attaches to the head. The head is a separate piece after all. And then there's a secondary ball joint at the base of the neck. So you can move that head up and down, rock it back and forth. And again, you can rotate that head all the way around if you want to as well. I guess technically articulation also is in the bandana. I mean, if that would be fun, I guess, if the foot soldier is falling off of a cliff. But it does give you some opportunity to rotate the bandana back and forth. So, you know, if you wanted to have it look like wind is hitting it on the one side, and the bandana then is flipped up on the other. As for the arms hinge out. They're a little bit more limited, only by the nature of the sculpt. You can still almost pull off a full 90-degree angle bend, but it just comes up slightly short, simply just because it's got that extra shoulder sculpted piece at the top of its torso. It does limit a little bit then, and prevents only getting a roughly about a 45 to 50 degree angle bend. You can still move the arms, however, fully forward and back. No issues there. This is dense plastic, by the way, in case somebody was wondering if this is maybe a softer plastic over top of a torso piece. In actual fact, it actually is dense plastic, so there's very little give happening there. The foot soldier also has a double hinge on the elbow. You can rotate the forearm back and forth, and you can also rotate the hands all the way around, whatever hands you decide to display them with. For the torso, it has a ball joint, but the ball joint is actually not here, where you would think it would be. Instead, the ball joint is actually at the bottom. So it actually hinges up and down that way, and you can see where that rotates all the way around. The legs split out, a little bit tighter on these figures, but they do split out. I get to about there on a splits on the figure. I feel like there's a little bit of fighting going on if I want to bring the legs any further out than that. So for that reason, I'm probably not going to push the boundaries any further than that, just for the risk that I could break something in the thigh. But for the thigh, there's also a swivel on the top cut of the thigh. There's a double hinge on the knee, a little tighter on this figure because these figures are a little bit more newer. Double hinge on the joint in the knee, and then there's also the articulation on the foot where you can rock it back and forth. I think it was actually this figure. This figure right here is a little loose on the ankle. It could just be simply because they've reused this mold a couple of times already, but I do notice like the joint, the little hinge joint there on the ankle is just a tad loose on this particular foot soldier. Still though, great, and I'm a big fan of army building. I don't army build every single figure that I collect. There are ones that I think are better contenders than others. When it comes to the cartoon foot soldiers or the movie foot soldiers, I really do think that those are strong contenders for figures that I would want to buy more sets of. So that when it comes to displaying them, especially if you're going to be displaying them with Shredder, you would want to have more of these. 2 was fine to get released, of course, with the Capture of Splinter set, but I really do think you need much more of them. And short of having then to buy the Capture of Splinter set multiple times over and getting multiple Shredders and multiple Splinters, NECA Toys just found it was a lot easier for us, the collectors, to release just the foot soldiers on their own and then leave it up to us to decide how many of these sets we'd actually like to pick up. One thing I really want to commend NECA Toys for doing is always finding the means to get those hard-to-find figures finally in the hands of the collectors that missed their chance the first time around. Whether it be cases where the figures are convention exclusives, or just the rarity of them, they were difficult to find in stores, NECA Toys always continues to re-release these. I mean, we were talking about the Rocksteady and Bebop set how long ago and how difficult that set was to find. And now you see how common it is to find that set in local stores. The same thing also could be applied for the 90s movie Turtles. How difficult those Turtles were to find. First, they were convention exclusives. Then they were very hard to find in select stores. But NECA always finds the ways because they want to, of course, appeal to fans. They want to make sure that these collectors get these figures. And case in point, again, is here with the Foot Soldiers. The Foot Soldiers initially we got with the Capture of Splinter set, which was a convention exclusive. But then you think of every figure that was in that set. I think even Splinter, or maybe Splinter is the exception to that rule, but Shredder has gotten a standalone release. The Foot Soldiers now have a standalone release. And the only thing that's really missing from this, the Foot Soldier set that we get here, and the original one, is just a spear and just a small dagger. We get all the weapons, we get the weapons rack, and we get 2 Foot Soldiers. So if you want to army build them, you can buy as many sets of these as you want until you build the sized Foot Soldier army that you want to have for your personal collection. So again, I want to thank NECA Toys, not only for providing the sample that we had a look at in this review, but again, always finding the means to get those hard-to-find figures into the hands of the collectors. Because after all, it's the collectors that will continue to buy these sets, will continue to want more future sets coming out. There's no reasoning why any company would want to sour that relationship. And it's nice to see that NECA Toys, again, continue to release these sets locally. So it's a matter of time. If you're willing to wait for the sets, they'll eventually start popping up. So just give it time if you can't find them right away. Don't ever go the route of scalpers. Going online to buy figures is ridiculous, especially when you're paying additional marked up prices for these. Just give it time. Companies like NECA Toys, believe you me, want to produce figures that they want their collectors and fans to get a hold of. Just give it time. Let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of the set, whether you would buy additional Foot Soldiers. Can you think of another set that you would want to pick up multiples of? I know certainly when it comes to the animated Foot Soldiers, I'm very happy to buy multiples of those, and even like Gremlins too. Essentially, we're buying the same Gremlin over and over again, but because they're packing them with different accessories and different outfits, you're sort of in a way army building a Gremlin. And that's probably one of my favorite examples of an army builder, is building those Gremlins up. Just as also a little small tidbit of just a little friendly, I don't know if I would just throw it out as an idea, but if NECA Toys would like to release this set again, give us just random head sculpts. And why not have a little fun with it? Give us head sculpts with people that work at NECA Toys. And then you could sort of play like, who is this person's head sculpt? I mean, you could probably find a head from another figure that's roughly about the same height. I wouldn't necessarily make Jason Voorhees into a foot soldier, I mean, the turtles wouldn't stand a chance. But I mean, you probably could find a human head somewhere in your collection of NECA releases. You probably just could pop the head off on one of these and swap it out for something else. But let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of this set, if you would pick this up, if you already have the Capture of Splinter set. I always like reading your comments down below. And also, if you're new to this channel and you're liking the content you're seeing, consider the idea of hitting that subscribe button down below, turning, of course, that bell notification on, and staying tuned to this channel Monday to Friday, 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when new videos will be popping up. And lots of NECA reviews lined up and coming your way, so please keep your peepers peeled to this channel at all times. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.